haven't convinced you. Perhaps you are an artiste. You are not swayed by crass considerations of profit and loss. You want to do great art. Okay. I'm with you. I'm in your corner here. Let's see if I can find an argument here that'll work with you. Oh, here we go, yes. Let's talk about art as a form of human communication. Let's talk about human communication in general, encompassing art, teaching, lectures, everything. In fact, as an illustrative example, let's use what's happening right here in this room. What's going on here? Well, the formal model, the official model of what's happening works something like this. We have Herr Professor Crawford strutting around up here. He's speaking, lecturing to his eager students gathered at his feet. The pearls of wisdom pour forth from his lips in a mighty torrent to flutter out into the intellectual aether like butterflies, there to be eagerly snatched by your attentive minds and greedily devoured. Yes, that's what's happening, right? Bullshit. That's not what's happening in here at all. Let me tell you what's really going on. Oh yeah, we got Herr Professor with the pearls of wisdom and all that junk. But what about you? What's happening with you right now? Well, yeah, of course, you're listening to what I'm saying, but there are other things going on as well. I mean, you have probably spent as much time contemplating the hairs on the back of the head of the person sitting in front of you as you have listening to me. When the door opens and closes, half of you turn around and look, see who that is, and you've probably been going through your conference program, figuring out what you're going to see next session, and wondering what you're going to eat for lunch today, and wishing you'd gone to the bathroom before you came to this terribly long lecture. How many of you checked out the cute chick in the fourth row there? How many of you checked out every chick in the room? You're thinking about everything but what I'm saying. Now, why is that? Well, maybe it's that you're an nincompoop, but the fact is, you're all doing it. So let's reject that hypothesis and instead focus on the social contract in this room. The social contract works something like this. You, sit down, shut up, and listen to the smart man. That's what's supposedly going on here. And so, you're a nice person. You sit down, you shut up, you listen to the smart man. But your mind rebels. Because you see, your mind is not a passive agent. Your mind just doesn't sit there, leaning against a post, watching life go by. No, your mind is active. You look at things and say, hey, wow, I wonder how this works. What happens if I twist it like this? Oh, look, it comes off. Oh, yeah, wow. You go out and you play with things. You're active. And that's, of course, not permitted in this situation. You are required to be passive, but your mind won't accept that. So you think about other things. You get involved in other mental activities. And the tragedy of that, from my point of view, is I don't have your attention. If I'm really lucky, I might have 25% of your total attention. Now, of course, if I run around a lot and I jump up and down and I make funny jokes and I say outrageous things to make you angry, with a lot of work, I can somehow pull you up to maybe 30% attention. But I still can't reach you because your minds are active and I'm forcing you to be passive. Now, if I really wanted to reach you, if I really wanted to be effective, what I'd do is I'd take each of you one by one into a small room, and then I'd say something, and you'd ask a question, I'd say something else, and you'd argue, and we'd go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and we'd do that interactive thing, and then it would be different, wouldn't it? You'd be involved. You'd be mentally active. You'd be thinking actively about what's going on. You'd be a lot more energetic. You'd learn a lot more, wouldn't you? I'd really reach you a lot better, wouldn't I? Unfortunately, there are 170 of you and one of me, and I don't have the time to do that. So instead, I settled for this arrangement. I surrender 3/4 of your attention so that I can reach 200 of you at once. That is the tax. That is the penalty that every artist, every lecturer, every communicator pays in order to reach the masses. And that is the tragedy of the artist, who tries to reach people and can't do it because he's trying to reach too many at once. That has always been, through all history, the great tax, the penalty on human communication. Until now. Because now we have the means to destroy that penalty forever. Interactivity is to human communication as E equals MC squared is to weaponry. It divides history like a knife. It renders everything that came before utterly obsolete. Beethoven, Picasso, Hitchcock, the works of these great artists will be consigned to the trash bin of history. Right? Interactive communication. Interactivity is our grail, our ideal, and it is within the grasp of every person in this room. We are the Manhattan Project of communications. We have it within our reach. Seize it. Thank you. Are there any questions? Comments? Noah?
Where do you get those great hats?
Well, actually, Noah, you'll be pleased to know that I got this at the Renaissance Pleasure Fair. And, my wife found the helmet at a swap meet. So, I don't know what kind of swap meet she goes to. I've been collecting hats for a number of years because they make such wonderful props. Pep.
Well, I might as well start. I, as usual, love the way you present, because you talk about gaining the 5% extra attention. That helps. You know, in your presentation always, it's very effective. Your punchline, though, I'm going to have to stop you right there and say Picasso, Hitchcock, and the other one you are going to be here forever.
Okay. They'll be here.
If you take your argument that far, that's what I was going with you to that point, because those, just because they're not in your sense of interactive, they don't go in the trash. I maintain that people like playing jigsaw puzzles and sometimes they play jigsaw puzzles, sometimes they play Monopoly. And if you tell me, no, every jigsaw puzzle has to go in the trash because we're all going to play Monopoly now, I don't think that's true.
I will back off a little bit. I will acknowledge maybe I was a little over dramatic on that. The basic point, though, that we have a revolution brewing in the arts, that we're completely overturning everything that's gone before. That notion I'll stick hard by. Perhaps people will listen, in fact, I'm sure people will listen to Beethoven centuries from now, but I strongly suspect that that will be a much narrower part of human art, of human communication. That the really powerful stuff, the primo stuff, the elitist stuff, the greatest stuff, will always be interactive.
See, people who make movies said that about movies versus books.
Okay.
A movie is going to replace a book. I just think your argument is strong, but I left that punchline.
Okay, maybe so. Yes.
So what then do you see as coming up as the new millennium of artists? It's going to be a series of Socratic dialogues with some further incarnation of the artist? Or what?
I cannot say what it's going to look like. If I did, do you think I'd be talking to you? I'd be back home doing it. I don't know what the future holds for us. I do know in the broadest possible terms that this is a fundamentally revolutionary development, that we are going to be overturning traditional art forms, because what we have is, at the very core, fundamentally superior. Go ahead, follow.
I was going to say, do you think that's already begun? Because I don't see it yet.
Oh, no, I mean, Am I going to present Space Invaders as the counter to Beethoven's Ninth Symphony? No. You know, we need a little bit more effort here. I suspect See, most of us come from a realm of technology. Technology undergoes revolutions on a time scale of years or at most decades. Art takes generations to go through this. So, because, I mean, you can change a machine easily, but the artistic vision it takes, that has to brew in the consciousness for many, many, many years. So I don't expect to see anything dramatic coming even in my own lifetime. I do think that this group, there will be some good art coming out of this group, but don't hold your breath. Yes?
We were talking about input devices, keyboard, mouse, joystick earlier, and you seem to imply that the mouse is somehow more interactive than a joystick. Could you explain what you mean by that?
A joystick, here's the fundamental question about an input device. How many words can you say with an input device? A joystick has 5 words, up, down, right, left, or fire. Now, you can get clever with diagonals, and if you hold the button down while you're doing something, it goes up to 19, I think. No, whatever. However, the mouse, you know, at first glance, you say, well, it's one button, if it's an Apple mouse. But wait a minute, it depends on where you click it. Conceivably, a mouse can have, on a standard Mac screen, 172,000 words, one for each pixel. Yes, a joystick can do it, but it has, the problem is it is so much slower and clumsier, it's not effective. I mean, we could come up with a technology where you each syllable one at a time, but is that an effective technology? I think not. The mouse is basically the same, a way of moving a cursor around and selecting something as a joystick. However, it works so much more cleanly than a joystick that I really think we are talking about something fundamentally different. Yes?
I love it to read.
Okay.
Since it appears you've become the Catholic Church of science, I'm Martin Luther.
Okay.
I worked with you at Atari. I remember playing volleyball with you. You come from a small, disturbed little subgroup of games. You misunderstand games almost completely. I read your book. I spent as much time throwing it across the room as I spent reading it.
Okay.
What you don't understand about
Don't you
games
wish you could
fills
interact?
encyclopedia.
I'm sorry?
What you don't understand about games fills encyclopedia.
Oh, okay.
My feeling is, as long as you are followed as a false prophet, this industry will be stuck in mediocrity forever.
Okay.
Do you have anything to say?
Yeah. Nail me.
Okay, you say that a game is bad if there are very few things to do. Poker is a beautiful game. You'll have 3 things you can do in limit poker. Drop, raise, call.
Do you play poker with a computer or with people?
With people.
Ah, okay. Isn't there something else going on there?
You can't expect a computer yet to be as interesting to play against as a person.
I agree, because there's something more going on than just those 3 things, isn't there?
Those are the 3 things you can do. Those are the 3 things that you can do. Yes, you have to read other things.
If
But
those-
those are your 3. You had 3 things in your choices: listening, doing, and then other people, and then showing what you've done.
Okay. The problem is, if those are the only 3 things, then you can do that just as well with a computer as with a human. And a poker game with a computer would be just as much fun as a poker game with a human, and it isn't. So there's
Right.
something else going on.
Because a computer can't give you as much information as a person does when he's sitting across from you.
Yeah, bluffing. That's the 4th thing, isn't
Not
it?
just bluffing, getting hot and stuck. You know, there's lots and lots to
Yeah,
poker.
lots and lots of other than those 3 things. Yeah, there's a lot going on. If you want to nail me, do so. I strongly invite you to, it's obvious you have some major philosophical differences that we can't resolve in a Q&A session. Write up an article presenting the differences. Don't waste my readers' time attacking me. Attack the ideas. Rip them to shreds.
You are part of a business which produces entertainment for profit.
Yeah.
That business will have some loss leaders. People who don't put out stuff that is going to sell as well as other people, but is giving interesting ideas. The music business, its loss leaders are like Elvis Costello, Bob Dylan, Charlie Parker. We got you. It's no match.
Would you like to compare our 1988 incomes? Yay! You want to do it right now?
Sure.
$200,000. What was yours?
$50,000.
Okay. Next question.